Cybersecurity is a very challenging aspect. With all the digital transformation and AI, it is becoming more challenging. In my humble view, the industry has a gap. If you look at the cyber losses, they have been growing exponentially year on year. If we were doing a good job, then somehow these losses should slow down, or at least, if nothing, we should have lower losses from one year to another year. But that's not the case. My name is Mirza Asrar Beg. I'm the CEO and founder of CTM 360. This was exactly the challenge which I started to address in 2014. The main point in this was that maybe we need to do things differently than what we were doing in that manner. I'm still struggling with it. I've come up with different ideas and I want to share that with you. Let's start with first the definition of security. We have IT security, we have information security, and then we have cyber security. How can we define a clean difference between all the three? And I'll give it to you today, based on which actually I've built my platform CTM 360. To me, IT security is about end user. It's similar to the police, where the mission is we need to provide a secure environment where people can go anywhere, anytime during the day or night. Whereas information security is not about people, it's about information asset, similar to the military. People may die, they need to secure the critical assets of a country. And when you go to cybersecurity, it's not about people, it's not about assets, it's all about attacks and the attacker, similar to the intelligence agency, where the CIA of the world, their mission is find the attacker in the planning phase and neutralize them before they land on your soil. So in my view, this was the thing which was the missing piece. That what was my definition of cybersecurity? It was not really put together. So I started doing that. And then I needed an operational model that I got from Lockheed Martin Cyber Kill Chain. Cyber Kill Chain is about taking an attack and converting it, or looking at it that the attack is in 7 steps with 3 phases. The first phase is pre-compromise, then comes compromise, then post-compromise. In terms of steps, the attacker will first do a recon, and the last step will be the action on the object. So if you look at those 7 steps, the security industry is very much focused on the last 4, which is really post-compromise. What does that mean? We all know what is IOC, indicators of compromise. It is something which is about someone else, somewhere else. We use that data to update our firewall to endpoint security to identify if the similar breach is happening in our environment. We are sort of ignoring the pre-compromise and the compromise stage. So what are those? In the pre-compromise stage, the attacker is doing a reconnaissance. And that's where I want to introduce a new terminology, indicators of exposure, which means that first you need to identify all your digital assets across the internet, visible from the internet, which could be any of your domains, IPs, hosts, and even your social media profile, your management profiles, and so on, anything out there. Then comes indicators of warning, which is that we will go and look around across the globe to see if anything is out there which is significant to say that some attacker, some scammer, some hacker is trying to put together the attack. And then comes indicators of attack, which is really about there is an attack underway. So indicators of warning can also convert to indicators of attack. If you're not able to address them successfully as indicators of warning, they can also become indicators of attack. So with this concept, we were at least able to have an operational model. Now let's look at how we were doing the things. We're doing things mainly from firewall to endpoint security. And that is really called defense in depth, very rightfully, because you have got layered security, but it is defense. It starts from your parameter. So that is why it works on indicators of compromise and going up to the endpoint security. There are more than 30,000 vendors today who are giving you technologies in that aspect and also the governance part around it as well, the GRC part. Now, we need to look at how do we complement that with my concept of cybersecurity. So that is now offensive defense. I'm thankful to Gartner. They came up with this terminology, I think, which they are saying now preemptive security. That's exactly what my structure is about, offensive defense. Industry has come up with multiple terminologies over the last few years, which are very fitting into our IOE, IOW, IOA. When you look at indicators of exposure, it starts with external attack surface management. And then it also grows into security rating. And finally, it also has now external threat exposure management, which is becoming a bigger part of the continuous threat exposure management. Next to indicators of exposure is indicators of warning. Indicators of warning will also start from your third-party risk management as well. There will be many more aspects of indicators of warning where you are monitoring the entire surface, deep, and dark web and picking up any event which can translate into an indicator of warning for your organization. Then we move into indicators of attack. Indicators of attack will have obviously your simpler ones like phishing, brand impersonations. It will have your data leakage. It will have somebody who's trying to put a malware targeting your organization or targeting your customers and so on. And within that indicators of attack comes a comprehensive part of takedowns. So that completes the real stack of offensive defense. Now we move on to the final piece, the functional aspect. I humbly think there are a lot of confusions. What is the role of a CISO? CISO in the past used to be IT security manager many years back. And then he became a security manager, but still reporting to IT. Then the regulators moved in and said, that's conflict of interest. And they had a security manager reporting to the risk. So that's where we started having Chief Information Security Officer. But in my humble view, rather than moving him around and having this, we should have a better model. And that is what should be applicable today, at least to the larger organizations. It should start with Chief Technology Security Officer. And that's where the goal of the Chief Technology Security Officer is to protect IT asset register. And then comes the next one, which is Chief Information Security Officer. And Chief Information Security Officer will be protecting the information asset register. And finally, we will have a Chief Cybersecurity Officer, which will be protecting the digital asset register. These are three different asset registers. Once we realize the difference based on the same thing where I started with the definitions of security, you will have a better understanding of what tactical, technical, operational, or strategic level security each one of them have to have. In my humble view, if this is the aspect that the future of security will be designed based on, then we will have a better future. Thank you.